Welcome everyone. It's Jim here with another update for my Beating Obesity channel. And it's a beautiful Sunday morning, or it's about noon now. I believe this is, August 12th. And wanted to make a little update today on a couple items. First of all, wanted to solicit for ideas from all my subscribers and listeners for channel content, suggestions for channel content going forward. I noticed that, over the last several months, I was sort of in a rut where I cover, my own story, what I'm doing, kind of lifestyle updates and health updates and weight updates and things like that. But other stuff. I'm curious what other ideas y'all might have for content. What do you want to see from me? I'd like to consider it. And I know I've got a lot of regular commenters who I'm sure will give me suggestions. I want to also open it up to anyone who lurks and views but doesn't comment. This is your chance to step up and give me some feedback. What would you like to see from this channel? I'm curious. I've got some of my own thoughts, and I'd like to see how it dovetails with the suggestions from you folks. And I'm not going to guarantee that every single suggestion I'm going to do a video on that, but I just want to see where the consensus is going forward. A couple changes that I have made. I have, based on suggestions, I put in the info box, the drop-down box underneath. I have like a little update field, which basically is like an update. I've got my starting weight, a 1 year ago weight, and current weight, and it just like gives a snapshot of my weight loss journey. It keeps it automatically updated. I have changed as you may have noticed, my standard thumbnail format. I made it in a style, a before and after style, just to, as a reminder. Some of my commenters have said part of telling a story is you got to keep repeating it over and over, and that doesn't come natural for me. I have the expectation that once I say it, okay, everybody knows it, and they're going to go back and watch every single thing I've said. But it doesn't always happen that way. People might just come by and see your last video and not really have the time to search, and go over your whole story. So two little changes like that, and we'll see. Another thing you're going to see in the drop down is a link to an interview I did with Sarah Pearls of Wisdom, and that interview, we did it a few days ago. I think it was a Thursday, and it's on her YouTube channel. She interviewed me, and we had a fun, almost a 1 hour just exchange of I kind of told my story, and we went back and forth and covered some interesting topics. I think I had a lot of fun with it. The hour flew by. I think she wanted to kind of keep it to 30 minutes, and next thing you know, she said, "Oh boy, we're at an hour." So it was a lot of fun, and we'll probably collaborate in the future, in a similar way. So check that out. There was some interesting stuff in there, especially in a topic that I've touched on recently, and that is one of, let's say, conquering the mental aspect of weight loss and the triggers that come up, or like I mentioned in a recent video, how when I was on vacation, I had this incident where, I started hearing voices from the past, from my past life, my past self, and Sarah had saw that video and then related um, her own issues with that, being a compulsive food eater and then a food addict, eating addict. She has a very interesting take on that. She's got these characters in her mind, in her past, that she's even named them, like her alter ego is a Miss Slick, who's in a car with her, and then there's a 4-year-old child in the back seat, always wanting to get cake. So that is interesting. So check out her story, how she tells that story. I think that's something that merits further discussion. I mean, in my mind, this is something everyone, to some extent, battles with this, and it's what we have to conquer. I always say we have to conquer hunger. Well, part of it's conquering hunger is conquering the mental game. It's not just riding out the hunger pangs that come, but it's these voices, or what I might call, I think they're like mental reward pathways. That's the way I see it. I mean, these are developed over years, and in my case, decades, just living the standard American diet, which is surrounded by food. Every event is based on food. I mean, every day is based on food. Every special occasion, every birthday, a football game or holiday, it's all about food. And there's these certain things you do, food and drink. I mean, there's a lot of drinking involved. And so these pathways just get worn into your mind, and you pile on top of that just the stress of life, job stress, marital stress, financial stress, just life sort of, can get you down. And as an escape, food can be the escape. I mean, I think that's true for a lot of people. You reward yourself with, just going overboard with food, escaping, or alcohol even. And so these mental reward pathways just get worn in and worn in and worn in, and they surround you and they envelop you, and you kind of, it's hard to escape their grasp. And what I was saying last week, I thought I had escaped and would never revisit those reward pathways. And then lo and behold, I was on vacation out in a different environment and around different triggers, and suddenly for a moment there was these voices telling me to do certain things and eat certain things, and there I was facing a prior version of myself. I mean, if I had to, what I would call my former self, my alter ego from the past, it would be Jim the know-it-all, because that was me. I knew it all, and I really didn't want anyone's opinion. I wasn't open. I mean, I guess I knew I wasn't eating right, and I knew it was kind of self-destructive. I just didn't care. This was my choice, and I didn't want to hear anybody's opinion about it. You could have somebody could have come up to me and told me the formula for losing weight, and they could have repeated exactly the steps I did on my weight loss journey, of fasting and 1 meal a day and carb reduction and exercise. They could have laid out the plan for me and said, here it is, do this, and I 100% guarantee that you will radically transform your life. I would have told that person, get away from me. I don't want to hear what you're talking about. Leave me alone. Because I knew it all. Or let's say I didn't know it all. I just didn't want to hear about it. I wanted to just live in denial and live with my comforting, I was stressed, and I surrounded myself with food and excess, as part of my life. And I knew, like I said, I knew it was destructive and not the best thing, but I had given up, and I just wanted to, let's say, just be happy. And the food made me happy. I wasn't happy with my weight, and I wasn't happy with my life. A lot of things I wasn't happy with, but I'd given up, so I didn't want to hear from anybody. So yeah, Jim the know-it-all with the head in the sand, kind of like this. No, 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 no. If somebody wanted to come up to me and talk about that, there was like, I didn't want to hear about it. So that's probably why nobody ever did, because they know I would just kind of blow them off. And that's why it's hard to talk to people now. Not hard, but you have to be careful when you approach people. Now, I do. You don't just walk up and say, hey, I see you're overweight. Here's what you need to do. Because, the responses could be a total blow off or a punch in the face, or, people just, what gives you the right, that kind of thing. It takes the person has to be ready, has to be open in order to move forward on a journey. And I, for whatever reason, only became open a couple of years ago. I was open to maybe look at things differently. So if the person is open, then a whole different world can be revealed. And that's the main change in me. A couple of years ago, I finally became open and let's say unencumbered by prior, past idiosyncrasies or hang-ups, and just made myself available to learn. And that's why I was able to overcome things and try new things, and the result is very positive for me. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick takeoff on this idea of our prior selves, our alter egos, the voices that try to drag us back into the comfortable food climate that we're surrounded with. This is not easy. I will, speaking from a standpoint of now, I feel like I've conquered that stuff, but it's not an easy thing to do for everybody. So I guess what I'm just want to leave with today is to say, if you're struggling with that, if you hear these voices, or you're pulled, in certain circumstances, let's say certain people or certain events or certain places you go that, you find yourself surrounded by these triggers and these thoughts and these habits from the lurking in your mind from the past. Be aware of them, okay, and recognize them for what they are, and just be determined to blaze a new trail and blaze a new path. You're going to be constantly resetting your bearings over and over and over, especially in the beginning. After a while, it'll be easier and easier, but still you'll get distracted. There'll be moments when you're down or depressed a little bit, or something will get you and you're a little vulnerable, and maybe you want to pick me up, and they'll be there. Those reward pathways will be there, ready to, oh, here's what you need. Here's what you need. Have a bowl of ice cream, or have some, have a pizza, have a cake. They'll be there because it's so comforting. It sounds so good, but it's not good. Anyway, I'm kind of going around in circles on this. I guess I don't want to belabor it any further. Yeah, so check out Sarah Pearls of Wisdom, or the interview that's linked below, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope, Sarah, if you're watching this, thanks for taking the time out. And again, I hope you notice my product placement. I've got that going on. And one new feature is I've got my Gerolsteiner here right with me. And that's handy stuff, because this is my go-to mineral water. I drink this like it's going out of style. I think when they review their 2018 sales for the Chicago area, when their marketing department looks at that, I hope they appreciate this guy, because I'm doing all I can to boost their sales. I love that water. It's really tasty. The next thing, I wanted to just say a little bit here about the environment that I'm comfortable in is let's say in general, is the low carb environment, whether it's paleo or ketogenic, or just low carb, high fat, carnivore world. I mean, I don't have an allegiance to any one certain protocol. I certainly didn't I kind of followed my own protocol. But in this general sphere, to me, the common element for the most part on all of these is the low carb aspect. Identifying carb as the thing that you want to really eliminate from your diet as much as possible. And I wanted to say something on that a little bit, because I know there's people out there that will claim, and it's true, you can lose weight on any kind of diet. You can lose weight on a high carb diet, and that is true. But I wouldn't recommend it. I don't recommend it, and for a couple of reasons. Not only for weight loss. I mean, weight loss. First of all, if you've got a lot of carbs in your diet, you're going to have a harder. You're going to make your weight loss journey more difficult, because carbs are part of the more addictive food, and they always cause an insulin spike due to a blood sugar spike, because your body recognizes them as glucose, and so this glucose up and down cycling is not helpful for weight loss. You're gonna have a bigger challenge. Yes, you can lose weight, but I believe you're going to have a harder task, and it's going to have to rely more on caloric restriction to do so, because it's going to be hard to fight the cravings, because carbs are they're the addictive side of it. I mean, of the food that we eat. These are the ones that your body's going to send you signal to reload with carbs when you're taking in that kind of fuel. So I don't think it's the smartest move for weight loss to have a lot of carbs. I mean, certainly some carbohydrate can work, but to me, your best approach is to minimize it dramatically, especially in the beginning. But it's not only about weight loss, it's about health. Because, look, carbs are not the preferred fuel for our bodies. The default, I mean, if you listen to Dr. Finney I'm just he says this over and over, that he believes a ketogenic state is more or less the default mode for humans. And I believe that's true. I mean, carbs were just not available to be eaten, 6 times a day, for the last 500,000 millions of years. This is not what we evolved to eat. The ketogenic state is more normal. Our bodies just don't handle the repeated fluctuation in insulin. And some people can handle it fine over and over and over, but many can't. And that's what's driving disease in this country. Obesity, heart disease, and that's the tip of the iceberg. So controlling your insulin through a low carb approach, to me, is just inherently much more effective strategy. It is certainly the only strategy that is reversing diabetes. And this is not even debatable. People are doing it everywhere. And it's much more effective than medication. I mean, the standard protocol for diabetics is just go on medication, go on metformin, and take your insulin and just manage it. And, it's going to get worse, but that's just the way it is. Sorry. This is just such a terrible approach. But fortunately, people and organizations like Virta Health is just one of them. They are actually proving that it's not acceptable and it can be reversed. And no drug can do that. So just carbs, going low carb is healthier. Keeping your insulin stable is healthier. Now, again, it varies by person to person. My own self, I had probably the worst diet, a high carb diet, high fat diet for years. And I am now, I never became a diabetic or even pre-diabetic. And I don't have issues with my heart. I have no problems, no heart markers. I had a CAT scan, a CT scan of my heart about 3 years ago, and I don't have the records on it, so I don't know the specific score. I'm trying to get that score, but at the time I was in the hospital, and I was told I should have this scan, and I asked after the test, I said, well, what were the results? And they said, oh, it looks okay for a person your age, it's fine. I didn't know what was going on at the time. I wish I had known the score, but and if I ever do get that score, I will share it. But what I was trying to say is that my body, I was good at making fat and storing fat. I was good. I had to have been what you call an insulin sensitive person, because my insulin was working well and was storing fat, and the fat protected me. It saved me. I mean, my body was very good at finding many places to store fat and new fat cells, and as you can see from my prior photos, it probably could have went on perhaps indefinitely, but perhaps not. But the point is, not everybody's body is like that. Not everyone is able to just generate new places to store fat, and not everybody's pancreas can just pump out the insulin over and over for year after year and not get worn out, and to control the glucose. So that's why, and that's why many people, including people that look like they're healthy, look like they're thin, it doesn't mean you're not on the way to being a diabetic or having a severe heart condition, because you might be breaking down internally metabolically, and that's why certain tests are needed, like a glucose tolerance test or checking insulin. Those are kinds of things beyond the normal, just looking at a lipid panel and fasting glucose. You need to look into it a little further, especially if you've been eating for a long time a high carb diet. That's just the way it is. So all I wanted to say is I push high carb, and I'm not let's say a zealot in that it's got to be paleo, it's got to be keto, it's got to be carnivore. I mean, it's just, I think you're within that sphere, within that community, it's much more it's a much more, you can expect much more positive health outcomes if you are in the low carb universe. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that for this video. Just a few comments. Again, suggestions for content going forward. Please go ahead and let me know. I'm curious what y'all think. And this will help me a lot. And like I said, any lurkers out there, let me know what you're thinking. Things you like, things you don't like. One other just announcement before I go. I've mentioned several times that I'm supposed to be this month doing a coffee experiment, giving up coffee for like 8 or 9 days, and then redoing my lipids to see the effect on triglycerides. I've canceled that test or that experiment. The thing is, it's just, I can't justify it. It's just not that, it doesn't matter that much to me. I mean, I just did my lipids, I've got the results. I just did it in about 6 weeks ago. So I know what all my numbers are. They were influenced by coffee a little bit, according to Dave Feldman. So I'm mildly curious about that. And next year, when I do the lipids again, I will do the coffee protocol. I will give it up for the 7 or 8 days beforehand to get rid of that variable. But since I do these, I'm paying for these out of pocket, these tests, and I can't justify it. And frankly, right now, I'm just not interested. So that I'm not going to do. It just doesn't rise to the level of a necessary test that I need to do. And I think you could tell from my prior mentions of this topic that I wasn't really looking forward to it, and I wasn't. I mean, I like having my coffee every day, and my two or three coffees, and I'm enjoying it now since I converted to heavy cream in the coffee. That is just the greatest thing. I mean, half and half. I usually get half and half when it's available, or let's say the McDonald's creamer, which is, God only knows what that is. I know there's some nasty stuff in there, but the heavy cream is wonderful. And I don't know how much Sarah asked me the other day, Sarah Pearls of Wisdom, how much cream do you put in? And I had to tell her honestly, I don't know. I go into Starbucks, I say put in heavy cream, and it's about that much in the cup. I don't know if it's 2 ounces, 3 ounces. Again, I don't weigh and measure, but it just tastes so wonderful. Anyway, so the coffee experiment canceled. I hope nobody's too disappointed with that, but in the future, whenever I do my lipids, I'm going to do it sans coffee to eliminate that variable. So we'll see. That's all I have for today. It's looking, again, it's the middle of the day and the sun is shining, so I'm going to enjoy some sunshine and then start producing this video, and I got some other things that I gotta get on the day with. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and I appreciate in advance any comments you have about future channel topics. Take care, and until next time, signing off.